Hi everybody, in this little behind the scenes video I'm gonna walk you through the making of my track called You Are the Light, and we're gonna look at some of the recording sessions, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the arrangement and about the making of the track, and hopefully I hope this will be inspiring for your own musical journey. So without further ado, let's take the tour. Right, so let me tell you first about the story behind this track, because I actually wrote this track as a celebration to my kids, Elliot, Leia and Alexander. And although I've been writing tracks for them separately in the past, I really wanted to cover their specific skills or specific traits in a song. And strange things happens, especially in music here, and I got sent this new delay plugin from Phantom Sounds called Analog Drift. And I had some guitar-like sound from Omnisphere, and I was playing around with piano sound from Pianoverse. And this melody popped up, because sounds often inspire me to write specific melodies and stuff. The melody is actually inspired by a track I wrote way back, when I was doing a solo album called Changing Sides under an artist name Tired Tree. And yeah, you can look up that album on Spotify. I'm not that super fond of that album. It's quite old, and it's a little bit of West Coast and prog rock, and yeah, I was kind of trying out different genres, and it was basically recorded way back when we didn't have the best kind of gear at home to record that. It's a totally different ball game or ballpark these days, when we have superb audio interfaces and all these great applications. Right, so let's dive into the track here and talk a little bit about the introduction and how the melody came about. Right, so many of you might know that I'm a drummer at core, and that's often also how I approach writing melody and obviously writing rhythm. But you can also hear that clearly in this track, because it has this little strange rhythm. Bum 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 bum. So that's like the core rhythm, and I actually find it very inspiring and easy to come up with new ideas melodically if you begin thinking about the rhythm first. So if you haven't tried that before, try that first and begin just finding a cool rhythm. Right, so the intro. So we can hear that if we take a look at the notes I play here, it actually begins on the 5 chord in the scale, an A major chord, and the track is actually in a D major, which you can hear at the ending. And it's often quite practical to find the key of a song either in the ending of a song or in the beginning of a song. But we begin with the 5 chord. It's the 5 chord to the 6 chord, which is a B minor chord, to the 1 chord, but with the 3rd in the bass. So it's gonna be an F sharp to a G chord. And then we go back to the A major, to the B minor, and actually up to an A major with a C sharp in the bass, to the D with F sharp in bass, to the G. And it sounds like this. Then we go to the 2nd chord, which is E minor, a D with the F sharp again, to the G, to the A major, then we go to the A minor, then it's A major, to the B minor, to the A with the C sharp in the bass, to the G, so. And so forth. So that's basically the chords, and I do play some other stuff here, but we're gonna look at that later down the line here. So that's the core of the melody. Yeah, so later down the track here we arrive at this little bit more proggy part, a little bit more weird part. And yeah, I'm an old prog rock fan and a prog metal fan, so I just had to add a little bit of that flavor into the track. And that's also to reflect my little bit more energetic child called Alexander. So this part definitely represents his personality. Yeah, so now if we take a look at the MIDI here for that last section where we're gonna have some strings to fill in the mid-range, and we're gonna have that guitar and piano playing that little phrase on the top end like this. And you can see that I muted actually the lower notes here below that top line, because we're gonna fill that with the strings, because if we have the lower end of the piano and the guitar, is going to be a little bit too messy and not going to sound as clean. So we just mute all that in the low register for both the top guitar here, and yeah, maybe we can just rename this to piano, because it's the piano line here at the bottom. So now let's record the pads or the strings. And this is made with a custom Serum 2 preset, which will be in my upcoming preset pack. So this is called the Ambient 1 pad, if you want to play around with this beautiful sound yourself. So let's go ahead and record that little final section, final bridge or whatever, outro maybe, something like this. And it's a wrap. Okay, so it's time to layer this with some real acoustic guitar. Now I did play a sampled acoustic guitar from the Omnisphere package, but I'm gonna layer that with some real acoustic guitar. But this staccato section is a little bit hard to play on the real fretboard, because it's gonna be and it's going to be a bit too jumpy. So instead of playing, I'm going to begin with the fifth, which is the D, and I'm going to go to an A, then to a B, and then to a D in octave. because it's gonna be much easier to play. So let's fire this away and see if we can manage to play this. And we need to place the microphone like this. Yeah, so that can do that. That'll do. Let's listen to what it sounds like with some reverb. Yes, I think that that can do. And now time for the final drums. Right, so finally let's take a look at the mastering chain, and let's go to the master track here in Bitwig Studio. And I basically have a chain device set up with a set of devices contained within this device. It's just to make it easier to save this, because I can just at any time when I'm happy with or unhappy with the mastering chain, I can just drag this to the rightmost browser and release, and that way I can save this as a preset. And within this chain device we have the UADX oxide tape. And you can see I actually deactivated this one because I thought it was a little bit over the top with that much saturation that I got from this emulated tape recorder. Yeah, so we basically have that one deactivated, but the first plugin is the Gullfoss master plugin. Okay, so Gullfoss on the master here is basically to make a more polished master. So I have a little bit of recovery, 24%, and also around 24% tame. So we're gonna see some dips here, and it's gonna be boosting some frequencies, and overall it's gonna make the sound more pleasant and more balanced rather than like too bassy, because sometimes, especially in this room when I mix, I get a lot of like low mids, and Gullfoss helps to defeat that here in the mastering. And you can also see a little bit of boost there in the high range. Next up after Gullfoss we have the Pulsar Massive, and I'm using this plugin to lift a little bit of the top end and a little bit of the low end, and it's also adding a little bit of drive to and saturation to the master here, and it's basically make the song even more sounding more polished. So let's first listen without, and then I'm gonna activate the equalizer. So again, it's kind of subtle, but it gives some like polished high end. And then after that one, we have the final like mastering plugin, which is the Smart Limiter. And this one is set as quite a like a moderate medium kind of drive here with 4.5 decibels of gain, and the limiter is set to -1 dB. So my true peaks are never gonna exceed -1 dB. And it's set to the universal mode, and a little bit of, just a tiny little bit of saturation, and a little bit of balance there to improve the spectral balance, and the style is leaning a little bit towards the softer side. Okay, so I hope you had a nice time watching this little breakdown of my track, and by all means, if you have any type of questions, let me know in the comment section, or give me an email, or send me a comment in Morning Media Education platform or whatever. And as always, I'll try to get back to you as fast as possible. Right, so I hope we can do more of these like breakdown videos, and in the future I'm gonna add these more like extensive versions of these videos on my Patreon. And like many of you already know, the YouTube algorithm is like defeating artists these days, and it's really hard to, even if you subscribe to a certain channel, it's not like obvious that you're gonna see new videos that's released from that channel. It's all about how the algorithm decides what's provided to you these days. So that's why I'm gonna try to push harder on my Patreon, because on Patreon, if you follow me there and support me on Patreon, you're definitely gonna see when I release new videos and new stuff, like new content and new free sample packs or whatever. So I hope you'll encourage this and follow me on this Patreon platform. So again, big thanks to all my current Patreon supporters, and yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching today. Bye.